Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. Monday Night Raw tonight was from the Moda Center in Portland, Oregon, and the show just ended, and I gotta say, tonight's show was a good show, in my opinion. Really enjoyed Raw tonight. It flowed really well, it didn't drag, and it just moved at a good pace. But on the show tonight, we saw Finn Balor versus Matt Riddle. The Women's Tag Team Championship was on the line where Aliyah and Raquel Rodriguez, Smiley Raquel, defended the titles against Dakota Kai and IYO Sky of Damage Control. Johnny Gargano made his in-ring debut on Monday Night Raw tonight, and he had facing Chad Gable. Bianca Belair issued an open challenge for someone to face her for the Raw Women's Championship, and Sonya Deville was the one who answered the challenge. So it was Bianca Belair versus Sonya Deville for the Raw Women's Championship. And in the main event, it was Edge versus Dominik Mysterio. But overall, Monday Night Raw tonight, very good show, very entertaining show, really enjoyed it. But anyways, let's jump right in to the review. Monday Night Raw opened up tonight with Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins ended up making his way out. He was wearing purple with these black design on the shirt and on his pants. So he made his way out. Crowd was singing away to his song. Rollins got on the mic, and he ended up welcoming the Portland crowd to Monday Night Rollins. Rollins ended up going on to say that he is the host of the show, and he is the visionary and revolutionary. So the crowd started to sing away to his song again. So Rollins ended up having a question for the audience. His question was, do you believe in karma? He kept saying that good things to good people and bad things to bad people. So Rollins was skeptical. He ended up saying 9 days ago at Clash at the Castle, the WWE Universe was in perfect harmony because he ended up beating Matt Riddle. Rollins ended up saying that he stomped Riddle's head into the mat twice and that he had 60,000 fans singing away to his song. Rollins ended up saying that he knows he is living rent-free in the pea-brain of Matt Riddle because he has requested a rematch. Do we really need to see a rematch between these two? So Rollins ended up saying that he isn't too interested in a rematch. He ended up saying that they may be wondering what is next for him. He ended up saying while they pondered that question. So we had a rematch chant break out from the crowd. Rollins ended up saying that he isn't interested in a rematch against Matt Riddle, so they can zip it. So Rollins ended up saying that what he is interested in is the fact that it has been far too long since he has held championship gold. So then Matt Riddle ended up coming out. Matt Riddle made his way down to the ring. He got on the mic, and he ended up saying, bro. So he ended up charging the ring. Riddle and Rollins started brawling. So Riddle ended up delivering some kicks to Rollins. Rollins ended up powering Riddle into the corner. Riddle then lifted Rollins up, sending him over the top rope. Riddle then went to the outside, and Rollins ended up backing Riddle into the commentary table, and then he jumped into the crowd. Riddle started following Rollins into the crowd, and Rollins then ended up managing to escape, and he ended up running up the ramp all the way to the back. Riddle then ended up going to chase after Rollins, but then we had the Judgment Day's music end up playing. Riddle ended up stopping, and Balor and Damian Priest stood in Matt Riddle's way. Riddle then ended up taking his shirt off. He got in the ring. He was ready to fight. Balor got on the mic, and he ended up saying that they're friends and not here to fight. Damian Priest ended up telling Matt Riddle to take it easy. Balor and Priest both got into the ring. Priest ended up saying that he goes way back with Matt Riddle. He ended up saying that they're here to offer him a spot. Priest then ended up saying that if Riddle will recall that not too long ago, he was being held back. No more. So they end up saying that they're here to change that for Riddle. Balor ended up saying that Riddle has seen how much Dominik has grown in the past few weeks. He ended up saying that Dom has stepped out of his father's shadow and will take care of Edge later on in the night. Balor then ended up saying that Riddle has problems, and they're problem solvers. Damian Priest ended up saying that the Judgment Day is simple. Priest ended up saying that means they want Matt Riddle to join the Judgment Day. So he ended up saying that Riddle can rise with the Judgment Day or fall against them. Riddle ended up saying, him and Damian Priest go way back. But his focus is on Seth Rollins. So Matt Riddle ended up telling him no, that he doesn't want to join the Judgment Day. Balor ended up saying that he knows the laws are more relaxed in Portland. So maybe his brain is cloudy. Balor ended up going on to say that Riddle can either stand with him or stand in their way. So Balor got in Riddle's face. Riddle ended up delivering a knee to Balor's face. And then Riddle clotheslined Damian Priest out of the ring. Priest ended up landing on his feet on the outside. And pretty much that was basically how the segment ended. But overall, I thought this was a very good segment to open Monday Night Raw tonight. With Seth Rollins coming out there, and Matt Riddle wanted a rematch against Seth, but Seth ends up saying no, he doesn't want a rematch. And then, the Judgment Day coming out there, Matt Riddle just taking out Balor and clotheslining Damian Priest, which of course led to the first match tonight, which was Matt Riddle versus Finn Balor. And this was a very good match. So as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, the match was already taking place. Balor started chopping away at Matt Riddle. Riddle ended up fighting back, delivered 2 gut-wrench suplexes to Balor. And then Riddle delivered the Broton on Balor. He ended up going for the cover. Balor kicked out at 2. Balor fought back, ended up taking Riddle down. He then applied, of course, the typical WWE submission, the chin lock, to slow down the match. So Balor applied the chin lock. Riddle ended up fighting out of that, ended up taking Balor down. Riddle then ended up going for the Broton again, but Balor ended up rolling out of the way. Balor delivered some forearms to Matt Riddle. He ended up going for the cover, and Riddle kicked out. Balor elbowed Riddle in the back of his neck and delivered a snap suplex to Riddle. And he ended up going for the cover. Riddle ended up kicking out at 2. Balor then turned Riddle onto his stomach, and Balor locked in a modified crossface. Riddle fought up, and he ended up getting Balor on his shoulders. Balor slid off, and he connected with a neck breaker to Riddle. He ended up going for the cover. Riddle kicked out at 2. Later on in the match, we had Riddle end up going to the apron to deliver a running kick to Balor. But Damian Priest ended up getting in his way. So Balor took control of the match. He ended up taking Riddle down on the apron, and he ended up standing on Riddle's neck. Riddle got back up, and he lifted Balor. Balor ended up sliding off of Riddle, and Balor ended up hitting a fallen elbow drop on the apron to Riddle, and Riddle ended up screaming out, "Oh, my neck!" So he was selling the effects of that fallen elbow drop from Balor. And then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, we had Riddle end up delivering a forearm to Balor. and Balor ended up responding, ended up delivering a kick to Riddle's knee. Balor then pulled Riddle up to his feet. Riddle came right back and delivered a fisherman suplex to Balor. Riddle ended up getting up to his feet, ended up hitting some strikes to Balor, and then he ended up hitting an overhead kick to Balor. So Riddle ended up doing a kip up, and he ended up hitting some forearms to Balor in the corner, and he ended up hitting a Explorer suplex to Balor, to which Balor quickly rolled out of the ring. So Riddle ended up going to the apron, ended up hitting the running kick to Balor, which Balor ended up selling the hell out of that kick on the outside. So Damian Priest ended up running over to check on Balor. Riddle ended up taking both Damian Priest and Balor out with a springboard floating bro, which was cool. So Balor ended up knocking Riddle back in the ring, and Balor ended up going for the sling blade, and Riddle ended up getting out of it. So later on, we had Balor end up rolling Riddle up for a 2 count because Damian Priest got on the apron to distract Riddle. Balor ended up quickly hitting a falling elbow drop to Riddle, so both guys were down in the ring. And then we see Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio ended up jumping Damian Priest from behind, and Rey Mysterio ended up hitting a crossbody block over the barricade. And so Rey Mysterio and Damian Priest were brawling in the crowd. So Riddle then ended up lifting Balor up, ended up hitting a brutal sleep to Balor, and then Riddle followed up with a German suplex with a bridge, and Balor ended up kicking out. So Riddle ended up sending Balor up, and he ended up going up to the top rope. Riddle ended up going for a floating bro. Balor ended up getting his knees up, and we had Riddle ended up avoiding the coup de grace from Balor. He grabbed him. Riddle ended up hanging Balor on the ropes, ended up hitting the draping DDT. Riddle then dropped down like Randy Orton, his best friend Randy Orton. All of a sudden, Riddle ended up popping up to cut Seth Rollins off because Rollins was going to attack Riddle. Balor then ended up grabbing Riddle, ended up hitting the 1916. He then ended up going up to the top rope, and Balor then hit the coup de grace on Riddle, ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Finn Balor ended up winning the match. Post-match, Rollins ended up coming into the ring, and he delivered a stomp on Riddle. And then all we hear was Rollins shouting at Riddle saying, "It's over, bitch. No rematch." And pretty much that was basically that. But overall, this was a very good match between Balor and Matt Riddle. And, Seth Rollins saying, oh, he don't want to have another rematch with Riddle. WWE is possibly going to do a rematch with Rollins and Riddle. And that's going to probably take place at Extreme Rules. So, wouldn't be surprised about that. And then we saw Sarah Schreiber. Sarah Schreiber was backstage with Bayley, Dakota Kai, and IYO Sky. Damage Control. Bayley ended up saying to Sarah Schreiber that there shouldn't even be a rematch for the Women's Tag Team Championship, since her girls should be champions. Dakota Kai then went on to say that they're in control tonight. And IYO Sky ended up saying that this is their division. So Sarah Schreiber asked Bayley about her being the first person to pin Bianca Belair in some time. And Bayley ended up declining to comment to Sarah Schreiber about that. But that was basically that. And then we had a pre-tape promo from Dominik Mysterio. And I gotta say, this was awful. This was awful, from Dominik. So Dominik ended up saying that he's only been known as the son of Rey Mysterio. And that had all changed at Clash at the Castle, because for the first time ever, he felt alive. So Dominik ended up saying that he became his own person, and that he was done taking the disrespect and bottling it up inside. He ended up saying that Edge got exactly what he deserved. So Dominik ended up saying that he will finish what he started tonight. He ended up saying as for his father Ray, he knows he's disappointed in him, but that's too bad. Dominik ended up saying that this is his life, not his father's. So he ended up saying that instead of being upset with him, Ray should look into the mirror and ask why he never bothered to get to know him. He ended up saying why, instead of trying to teach him, he didn't ask what he wanted for his career. For such a tiny man, he ended up saying Ray casts a large shadow, and then Dominik ended up saying that he's done living under it. Rhea Ripley's hand ended up appearing on Dominik's shoulder. Rhea then whispered into Dominik's ear. Dominik ended up saying that he's not Ray's baby boy anymore, and that he's a man. Dominik ended up getting up, and he walked off. And then it ended with Rhea Ripley just evilly smiling into the camera. So pretty much that was basically that. But this whole thing was awful from Dominik. Just the promo that he cut here just fell flat, in my opinion. And then we had a pre-tape promo that was done earlier in the day from Austin Theory. Austin Theory ended up saying that he's too busy to take on Johnny Gargano in his first match back. But Theory ended up saying that he had the perfect person for Gargano in his first match back. And that person was Chad Gable. And then I had my remote ready to hit the mute button. You know, every time Chad Gable is on TV, I feel like hitting the mute button because, you know, it's cringe with the shush and a thank you. It is absolutely fucking awful. I don't know why they keep giving him TV time to go out there and just do the whole corny shush and the thank you. It is absolutely fucking awful. So Chad Gable ended up saying that Johnny Wrestling will be known as Johnny Shush after tonight. And then he went, oh, thank you. Mute the TV. God. So fucking awful that they're portraying Chad Gable with. He's good in the ring, but please, change up his character, change up his gimmick. Enough with the shush and a thank you. And then we had the Women's Tag Team Championship on the line. Aliyah and Smiley Raquel Rodriguez versus Dakota Kai and IYO Sky. And of course, Dakota and IYO were accompanied by Bayley. And this was a good match here. Raquel Rodriguez and Dakota Kai started off the match. Raquel ended up blocking the right hand from Dakota Kai. She ended up lifting Dakota up for a suplex. And then Aliyah tagged in. Raquel ended up hitting a release front suplex. And Aliyah ended up taking Dakota Kai down. Ended up going for the cover, to which Kai ended up kicking out at 2. Aliyah then ended up taking Dakota Kai into the corner. Raquel Rodriguez tagged in. Ended up hitting an avalanche on Dakota Kai. Ended up going for the cover. Kai ended up kicking out at 2. So Raquel Rodriguez ended up lifting Dakota Kai up. And Dakota Kai ended up countering into a sunset flip attempt. Raquel ended up quickly elbowing Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai ended up rolling out of the ring to recover. IYO Sky then ran in. Raquel Rodriguez ended up dropping IYO Sky on the apron. So IYO Sky at that point lost her balance and she fell to the floor from the apron. Aliyah ended up running in and Raquel ended up pressing Aliyah over her head, ended up throwing her out of the ring onto both Dakota Kai and IYO Sky. And then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Raquel ended up taking IYO Sky down with a shoulder tackle. Aliyah came in, came off the middle rope with a shot to the arm. and IYO SKY ended up fighting back, and Aliyah kicked up. IYO SKY ended up reversing the whip to the corner. Aliyah ended up slingshotting IYO SKY over her, and she ended up hitting a death press, started punching away at her. Later on in the match, we had Aliyah end up pinning Dakota Kai, and Dakota Kai ended up kicking out at 2. So Aliyah then ended up hitting the jawbreaker and a springboard facebuster to Dakota Kai. So Aliyah ended up going for the cover, but Bayley ended up putting Dakota Kai's foot on the bottom rope, to which Aliyah was not happy about that. So Aliyah then ended up hitting Bayley with a baseball slide. Raquel Rodriguez ended up grabbing Bayley, and she had turned it for IYO SKY to hit a moonsault. IYO SKY ended up coming up short on the moonsault off the top rope to the floor. So Dakota Kai ended up taking Aliyah down, ended up hitting a inverted backstabber to Aliyah, and she ended up going for cover, and there you go. We had Dakota Kai and IYO SKY win the match, and they are the new women's tag team champions. So they put the titles on the right woman. All we need is Bayley to defeat Bianca Belair for the Royal Women's Championship, and Bayley wins it. Bayley wins the Royal Women's Championship, so all of Damage Control has titles. Dakota Kai and IYO SKY are the Women's Tag Team Champions, and then if Bayley beats Bianca, she'll have the Royal Women's Championship, and they will all have titles around them. So I think that's what I see them doing. I think Bayley will be defeating Bianca Belair at Extreme Rules for the Royal Women's Championship. But overall, it was a good match between them, between Dakota Kai, IYO SKY, and Raquel Rodriguez and Aliyah. Smiley Raquel. And so we saw Dominik Mysterio. He was warming up backstage. His father, Rey Mysterio, ended up coming up to him. And Dominik did not even look at his father. He just looked straight ahead. So Rey ended up telling Dom that he had no idea that he was holding all that inside him. Rey then apologized to Dom, ended up saying that Dom doesn't need to go through with this match against Edge. Rey begged Dom for a chance to make this right and be a family. He begged Dom not to fight Edge. He ended up telling Dom that Edge is like a brother to him, and that Edge is an uncle to Dom. Rey ended up saying that he knows Dom is angry, but when Edge is back to a corner, he won't hold back. So Rey ended up saying to Dom that if he fights Edge, things will never go back to how they were. And so he ended up telling Dom that Edge is that dangerous. So Rhea Ripley ended up coming over. She ended up saying to Rey that Edge isn't the only one that's dangerous, and that Dominik isn't a boy anymore. He's his own man, and that Poppy knows best. So Rhea Ripley ended up leading Dominik away from Rey, and pretty much that was basically that. But overall, this was a good backstage segment here. And then we had Chad Gable versus Johnny Gargano. Of course, Otis was out there accompanying Chad Gable, and this was Gargano's first match in nearly a year. But this was a good match. Johnny Gargano ended up going for a takedown to Chad Gable. Gable ended up quickly getting out of it. We had the crowd behind Johnny Gargano here. Gargano then ended up picking Chad Gable's ankle to take him down. They ended up locking up. Chad Gable ended up applying a side headlock, took Gargano down, and he applied an arm lock. Gargano ended up fighting up, ended up slingshotting Gable over him, and then he had a flying hurricanrana, which was cool. Gargano ended up hitting some arm drags to Gable and then delivered a heel kick. Gargano was going for a wheelbarrow, and Chad Gable ended up countering it. Gargano ended up taking Chad Gable down for a 2 count, and then he applied a front face lock, to which Chad Gable ended up trying to fight out of it, and Gargano still locked in the face lock on Gable. Gable got up to his feet, ended up sliding out before punching Gargano in the face. So we had Gable end up applying a waistlock. And then you hear Otis end up shouting, "Squeeze him!" So both Gable and Gargano countered the waistlock. Gargano ended up taking him down, and he kicked Gable in the face. Gable rolled out of the ring to recover, and Gable ended up getting back in. Gargano then delivered a kick to his face, to Gable's face. Gargano ended up going to the apron, and he ended up hitting the senton out to the floor, which was cool. And then, as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Chad Gable was working over Johnny Gargano's knee, and they played during the commercial break that Gable ended up hitting a dragon screw on the ropes to Gargano. So we had Chad Gable end up stretching out Gargano's knee, started taunting the crowd. Gable then ended up hitting a knee breaker to Gargano, and then the back suplex. He ended up going for the cover. Gargano kicked out at 1. So Chad Gable ended up attacking the knee again of Gargano, ended up applying a knee lock. Gable then ended up going for a leg lock, and Johnny Gargano ended up kicking him away. Gable ended up going over the ropes, but pulled himself back in. Gargano ended up hitting a clothesline and a step up enziguri to Gable, which was cool. So, at the end of the match, we had Johnny Gargano end up putting Chad Gable in the ring, end up super kicking Otis back. So, we had Gargano end up hitting Chad Gable with the one final beat, and he ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Johnny Gargano ended up winning the match. Post-match, Otis ended up running into the ring, and Gargano ended up hitting 2 super kicks to Otis, which didn't take him down. Gargano ended up telling Otis to suck it, and he got out of the ring. Gargano ended up celebrating while going up the ramp. And then suddenly, Austin Theory came out. Austin Theory ended up attacking Gargano from behind with the briefcase, and then Theory ended up taking a selfie with Gargano. He then walked down, and he took a selfie with the Alpha Academy with Gable and Otis. And pretty much that was basically that. Overall, this was a good match between Gargano and Chad Gable. You know, as much as I want to see Gargano take on Ciampa here, but out of all the men on the roster, you give him Chad Gable, which still was, a good match. But I was willing to see Johnny Gargano and Ciampa here, or have Johnny Gargano versus Austin Theory. Second option that they could have done. But they're holding that off. But still, like I said, this was a good match between Gargano and Gable. And then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Austin Theory was in the ring. Theory was on the mic, and he ended up asking if Johnny Gargano disappointed them. He ended up saying somebody had to show him how it works around here. He ended up saying to him, all Johnny Wrestling is an overrated bottom-feeding fish at the bottom of the food chain. So we got what chance from the crowd to Austin Theory. Austin Theory got upset about that. So Kevin Owens ended up coming out. So Kevin Owens came out to the stage, and we had a loud KO chant pick up from the crowd. Kevin Owens ended up getting on the mic, and he began to talk, to which Austin Theory ended up telling him to shut up. Theory ended up saying that he is tired of his moments being ruined by idiots like Kevin Owens, Tyson Fury, and Johnny Gargano. Theory ended up saying that Kevin Owens is looking at the future, and that he is the youngest Mr. Money in the Bank in history, and he will take over this damn industry. Kevin Owens ended up saying that Theory tried to say all that last week, and that clearly his jaw is fixed. He ended up saying that they've heard for months about how Theory is the future. Kevin Owens ended up saying that he told Theory that he was the hand-picked future of the company. And that may have been true, but that's not how it works anymore. He ended up saying guys like him and Johnny Gargano don't look like Theory. So Austin Theory ended up saying that they never will look like him. None of the people can look like him. Theory ended up saying that he gets why they're jealous, and that he's done more in the past 5 months than Kevin Owens and Gargano have done in 5 years. Kevin Owens then replied to that, and he ended up telling Austin Theory that statements like that show how big of a delusional jackass Theory is. He ended up saying that Theory accomplished all this by being handed opportunities, and that Theory won the United States Championship in a match he didn't earn, and got Money in the Bank despite not being in the match. So Kevin Owens was like, those were given to him, and he doesn't begrudge that. Kevin Owens ended up saying that he was handed the Universal Championship on a silver platter, and that's where the similarities end. Kevin Owens then got into the ring. He ended up saying that him and Austin Theory are complete opposites, and he couldn't be prouder of that fact. Kevin Owens ended up asking how many guys in the last 2 decades have come by WWE just like Austin Theory. He was like, how many of them fizzled out and went nowhere? Hundreds. So he ended up saying how many guys like him and Gargano have come around WWE and reached their levels. He was like, you can count that on one hand. Kevin Owens was like, people like Austin Theory are a dime a dozen, while people like him and Gargano are 1 in a million. So Kevin Owens ended up saying that people need people like him and Gargano because they are the heartbeat of this business. He ended up saying that Theory and people like him are the appendix of the business, completely expendable. Kevin Owens ended up saying that he knows he's upsetting Austin Theory, but he wishes him well. Kevin Owens ended up saying that he doesn't think he has the potential to be the future, that Austin Theory doesn't have the potential to be the future. Owens ended up telling Theory to prove him wrong. He ended up saying that Theory needs to stop thinking about the moments that were handed to him and create real ones. He was like, let his passion drive him to get better and leave everything in this ring. Kevin Owens ended up shoving Theory and ended up saying that that's how he will prove him wrong. That's how Theory will prove him wrong. That's how he'll become the future and the face of WWE. So we had a loud KO chant picking up from the Portland crowd. And Kevin Owens, you could tell how he was talking to Austin Theory here. You could tell that he was letting out all the frustration in him on how he was terribly booked by Vince McMahon. That all was coming out of Kevin Owens here. Because all Vince McMahon saw in Kevin Owens was just him as a talk show host and doing the KO show. So the promo that Kevin Owens was delivering here to Austin Theory was just all the frustration that he was keeping inside of him. So, and his face was getting all red as he was just talking about all this to Austin Theory. So you could tell how pissed he might have been being booked by Vince McMahon. And that all showed here in this promo. So Austin Theory was looking crazed. He flexed his bicep. Theory ended up saying that Kevin Owens will never be like him. So Kevin Owens was like to Austin Theory, well, that talking sense didn't work. Maybe this will. So Kevin Owens then slapped Austin Theory in the face. Theory turned around and he was seething at Kevin Owens. His bottom lip looked a little swollen, and Theory and Owens ended up getting in a brawl. Referees had to run down to separate the both of them. Theory and Kevin Owens broke away, and they continued to brawl again. Theory was pulled out of the ring. Kevin Owens ended up going out of the ring. He charged at Austin Theory and knocked him into the barricade. And then both guys went back to the ring. Theory ended up going to hit Kevin Owens with the Money in the Bank briefcase. Owens ducked, and Owens was going for the stunner. But Austin Theory ended up getting out of the ring. And Theory's nose was busted open. So Kevin Owens ended up busting Austin Theory's nose, breaking it. Kevin Owens then ended up shouting, "That broken nose is just the beginning, bitch." And pretty much that was basically that. But really enjoyed this segment. Kevin Owens delivering this promo here to Austin Theory was fantastic. And like I said, it just showed, the frustration inside of him, of Vince McMahon booking him miserably. And at all Vince McMahon saw Kevin Owens was as a talk show guy and doing the KO show. But now that Triple H is in creative, this is the best that he has done with Kevin Owens here. This is the Kevin Owens that we needed to see. Not the whole Vince McMahon, Kevin Owens shit where Kevin Owens is just going out there, having a match here and there, but basically 95% of the time, it's the KO show. So I'm really glad we're seeing this version of Kevin Owens, which is very good. But awesome segment this was, and fantastic promo from Kevin Owens. And then we have Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair ended up making her way down to the ring. She ended up getting on the mic. She ended up saying that if she's learned anything from these past few weeks, it's that she always needs to stay ready. She ended up saying that as champion, she always has a target on her back. So Bianca ended up saying that she decided to issue an open challenge for the Raw Women's Championship. She ended up saying that she's the EST of WWE, and you can't whoop her. So Bianca was like, if anyone wants a piece of the EST, who will it be? So who answered the open challenge? Sonya Deville. And I'm like, wow, that sucks. Why are we going back to this? Haven't we seen enough of when Sonya Deville and Bianca Belair were going at it, because of, Adam Pearce, getting involved there. This was basically, with Sonya Deville and Bianca Belair. This was just Sonya Deville and Naomi. But just take out Naomi and add in Bianca Belair. Because, Sonya Deville was an authority figure and abusing her power when, she was on SmackDown with Adam Pearce. So I'm like, really? We're going back to this with Bianca Belair and Sonya Deville? So Sonya Deville got on the mic. She ended up asking why Bianca looked so confused and that she hasn't forgotten what Bianca did to her. She ended up saying that Bianca didn't just make a mockery out of her job, but she cost her that job. So Bianca ended up telling Sonya Deville to shut up. She ended up telling Sonya Deville that this is an open challenge, not an open mic, and that it's time to get this thing started. So then after Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, we had Bianca Belair versus Sonya Deville for the Raw Women's Championship. And this was just a very meh match. Match started with Bianca Belair avoiding a sliding kick from Sonya Deville. Bianca ended up taking Sonya Deville down. Sonya Deville ended up quickly getting to her feet, ended up twisting out of a waist lock. Bianca turned it around on her, slingshotted over her. Sonya Deville ended up going for a head scissor, and Bianca Belair ended up hitting a gutbuster to Sonya Deville, went for the cover. Sonya Deville kicked out at 2. Sonya Deville ended up hitting a low drop kick to Bianca Belair, went for the cover. Bianca kicked out at 2. So we had Sonya Deville end up taking Bianca Belair down by her ponytail, and she ended up applying the chin lock, of course, to slow down the match. Bianca ended up powering Sonya Deville off, elbowed her back. So at the end of the match, we had Bianca end up catching Sonya Deville with the KOD, end up going for the cover, and there you go. Bianca Belair end up winning the match, retaining the Raw Women's Championship. Post-match, Bayley ended up making her way down to the stage, and she ended up saying, "Ding dong, hello champ." She ended up asking if Bianca was inspired by the championship victory by Dakota and IYO Sky earlier in the night. She ended up saying that they did exactly what they said they would. Bayley ended up saying that they would take control of this whole division. and that tonight was just the beginning. Bayley ended up saying that since she's out here, she wants to talk about Bianca's victory. She was like, did that make her feel better? And Bayley thought it did. She ended up saying that fed just a little bit of her big fat ego. Bayley ended up saying that she wants to be truthful with all their beautiful fans. She ended up saying that Bianca won't be able to sleep at night until she gets a match with her. So she ended up saying that should Bianca be embarrassed if that's what she wants? So Bayley ended up saying that she hasn't wrestled in a year, and she still pinned Bianca, something no one did for over 300 days. So Bayley ended up saying that Bianca will have her match when the time is right. So Bianca then challenged Bayley to get into the ring. So Bianca didn't notice that Dakota Kai and IYO Sky were on the apron. Bianca ended up finally seeing Dakota Kai and IYO Sky, and we had Damage Control end up triple teaming on Bianca Belair. Bianca took it to IYO Sky first, and that's when we had the 3-on-1 attempt by Damage Control. So Alexa Bliss and Asuka end up run down to make the save for Bianca. Alexa Bliss end up delivering the DDT to IYO Sky, and Asuka end up delivering the knees to Dakota Kai in Dakota's face. Bayley then stomped away at Bianca, end up turned to Asuka and Alexa Bliss. So they cornered Bayley to face Bianca. Bayley ended up charging, and Bianca ended up giving Bayley a spine buster. And Bayley then rolled out of the ring. And pretty much that was basically that. But overall, very meh match between Bianca Belair and Sonya Deville. I'm like, why are we going back to this? And it just sets up, Bayley versus Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship. Without a doubt, Bayley is taking the title off of Bianca. And then we had Omos. Yes, Omos was on the show tonight. We had Omos versus Khash Morozy. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. And Ryan Toombs. 2-on-1 handicap match. And when Omos' music ended up hitting, the screen cut out. And the feed got cut. And then we see technical difficulties with the Raw logo from 2016 and USA on the right. So we had the Raw 2016 logo on the left and the USA Network logo on the right. And I'm like, I laughed. And even USA Network doesn't want Omos to be shown on television. Why couldn't we get this technical difficulties signed throughout the whole match? And then have it go off after the match was over. Omos ended up winning. Who cares? Omos is terrible. And then watch. WWE, I won't be surprised if WWE does for Survivor Series, if they do Raw versus SmackDown, which I think Survivor Series needs to have a change up. This Raw and SmackDown thing has become very outdated, in my opinion. I think Survivor Series needs a change, and why don't they bring War Games to Survivor Series? You're not going to have William Regal there and say, this is War Games. You can have Triple H go out there and say, this is War Games. But I wish WWE, for this year's Survivor Series, they bring War Games there. Enough of the Raw versus SmackDown thing. It's been going on for years. But if they do the Raw versus SmackDown, watch they make Omos and Braun Strowman team captains of their brands. Can you all imagine that? I would not be surprised if they do that. Watch. We'll possibly be seeing that at Survivor Series. We'll have Omos and Braun Strowman as team captains for their brands. So then we saw Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio ended up fighting Edge backstage, and Rey tried to beg Edge from having the match with Dominik. Edge ended up saying that sometimes someone needs sense knocked into them, and it's better for him to do it than Rey. Edge ended up apologizing to Rey for what will happen, and he walked off. So, pretty much, that was basically that. Edge wanted to teach Dominik a lesson. So then we saw Seth Rollins. Rollins was walking backstage. Kevin Patrick ended up coming up to him. Kevin Patrick ended up asking Rollins what he was going to say before Matt Riddle interrupted him. Rollins ended up saying that the moment has passed. He ended up saying how many times is he going to have to stomp Riddle's head into the mat before he realizes he can't miss going after the face of Monday Night Raw. So then Bobby Lashley ended up coming up to Seth Rollins. Bobby Lashley wearing glasses, and Bobby Lashley ended up saying that Rollins isn't the face of Monday Night Raw. He ended up saying that he can wear a lot of funny colors, but the only one that matters is gold. He ended up saying that the person that holds the gold is the face of Monday Night Raw. So Rollins ended up saying that, these MMA guys never get it. Maybe they're missing some brain cells. So Rollins ended up saying, that wasn't the gold I was talking about. But Rollins ended up telling Lashley, maybe I'll be happy to take it off your shoulders next week. So Rollins ended up saying, how about next week? Me versus you. Rollins versus Bobby Lashley for the United States Championship. And then Rollins was like, then we'll find out who the face of Raw is. So Lashley ended up saying they can fight about it. So pretty much that was basically that. So next week on Raw, we're going to be seeing Seth Rollins versus Bobby Lashley, United States Championship on the line. So should be a good match. And then we had a pre-taped interview with The Miz at his home. We saw Miz's children, his two girls, Madison and Monroe. They end up running up to him. So Maurice then ended up walking in. Maurice ended up saying that they have a huge premiere. Miz ended up asking if Maurice is really comfortable in leaving. Maurice ended up asking Miz if it's really about that freak, Dexter Lumis. She ended up saying that, we have a gate and security guards, and there's no way he can ever come into this house. Miz ended up telling Maurice, you're right. And Miz ended up kissing her. So Maurice wasn't happy that the cameraman was wearing shoes in their house. So Miz ended up telling the cameraman not to say Dexter Lumis in his house. Miz ended up having a police escort out to the arena. He ended up saying that WWE hired double the security for the arena and that he was able to get in. That Dexter Lumis was able to get in and do what he did. So the cameraman ended up asking what Dexter Lumis did to Miz. Miz ended up saying that he doesn't want to talk about it. So Miz got upset. He ended up saying that the interview is over. So we briefly saw Dexter Lumis staring in from the outside. Dexter Lumis was outside of Miz's house. So Miz ended up getting into the car with Maurice and his daughters and ended up driving off. We then saw Dexter Lumis inside the Miz's house. And Dexter Lumis held up a drawing of the Miz and Maurice and their daughters. And it said Miz and Mrs. on it. And pretty much that was basically that. But I thought this was cool. WWE should do, promos like this again. But in my opinion, this was just a way to promote Miz and Mrs. Main event, Edge versus Dominik Mysterio. And this was just a very meh match in my opinion. Edge was just carrying Dominik throughout this entire match. So the match started. Edge ended up going right after Dominik. He knocked him into the corner. Edge was shouting at him, started punching away at Dominik. Edge whipped Dominik to the opposite corner, ended up hitting a quarter clothesline. So Edge was shouting that this is what Dominik wanted. And he punched him back to the corner. Edge ended up whipping Dominik to the corner, and Dominik ended up slingshotting over Edge. Dominik ended up charging at Edge, but Edge ended up delivering a big boot to Dominik, knocking him down. Edge then ended up clubbing Dominik's spine twice, and then he hit a scoop slam. Dominik ended up rolling out of the ring, went over to Rhea Ripley. So we have Dominik ended up getting into the ring. Edge ended up knocking Dominik back down. Dominik ended up rolling and he delivered a kip up, and Edge ended up clotheslining Dominik down. Edge then delivered a low drop kick, which sent Dominik flying to ringside. Edge ended up going to the outside. He ended up taking Dominik down on the floor. So we had Edge ended up reversing the whip into the ring steps to Dominik. Dominik ended up begging Edge off, ended up calling him Uncle Edge. So Edge ended up booing Dominik, ended up putting him back into the ring. Dominik ended up distracting the referee, and Rhea Ripley ended up chop blocking Edge's leg. So Dominik ended up sending Edge's knee into the ring steps. And then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, we had Dominik end up taking it to Edge. He ended up punching Edge down, ended up attacking Edge's injured knee. Dominik ended up applying a knee lock, and Rhea Ripley was liking what she saw. So later on, we had Edge end up headbutting Dominik a bunch of times, and he ended up standing on the top rope. Rhea Ripley ended up climbing up, ended up holding Dominik's ankle, causing Edge to fall back. Dominik ended up standing on the top rope and ended up hitting a frog splash to Edge. He ended up going for the cover, and Edge ended up kicking out. You had Dominik end up hitting the Three Amigos, just like Eddie Guerrero, his poppy. So Dominik ended up setting up for the figure 4 leg lock. Edge kicked him into the ring post, and Dominik appeared to have hit his head on the ring post because he was looking a little loopy. Dominik ended up recovering, and he ended up charging at Edge, but Edge ended up hitting the flapjack to Dominik. Edge ended up giving Dominik a stun gun, and he tied Dominik's arms up with the ropes. Edge ended up shouting that Dominik wanted this. So Edge started punching away at Dominik, still tied up in the ring ropes. Edge continued to punch Dominik, so the referee ended up backing Edge up. Edge ended up going for a spear, and Rey Mysterio ran into the ring. Rey ran in to stop Edge from delivering the spear. Edge then ended up shoving Rey Mysterio away. Damian Priest pulled Rey out of the ring and ended up delivering a broken arrow to Rey on the commentary table. And then Finn Balor attacked Edge from behind. Balor was wearing a bandana, and the referee ended up calling for the match. So Edge won the match by disqualification. Edge ended up fighting back at Balor, started punching him down in the corner. Rhea Ripley then ended up coming in, ended up hitting Edge in the leg with a chair. Rhea Ripley ended up giving the chair to Dominik, and Dominik started beating Edge's knee with the chair 4 times, and the chair was bent. It was totally bent after those shots. Dominik set the chair up, and they ended up putting Edge's leg on the chair. Judgment Day ended up putting Edge's leg on the chair. Balor ended up going up to the top rope and hit the coup de grace onto Edge's leg. Edge was screaming in pain, and he was holding his leg. Judgment Day stood together in the ring, and the crowd was just booing the hell out of them. And that was how Monday Night Raw went off the air. Overall, this match was very meh. It was just pretty much Edge carrying Dominik throughout the match. overall, Monday Night Raw, this was a very good show tonight. Take out the Sonya Deville and Bianca Belair Open Challenge for the World Women's Championship and Omos's match, the 2-on-1 handicap match. You got a good show tonight in Monday Night Raw. But anyways, that's it for the Monday Night Raw review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all Wednesday night for AEW Dynamite. So, till then, see you all later.